Hey guys, tonight we're slipping back into a moment that feels almost like a secret. A time when beauty was passed down like recipes, whispered between mothers and daughters, practiced in dim bathroom mirrors with nothing but instinct and a steady hand. We're talking about the 1970s, when every woman seemed to know 100 small tricks that have since vanished completely, swallowed up by progress and forgotten in the rush toward something shinier, something easier, something that came in a bottle with promises printed on the label. Before we begin, I want to thank the person who suggested this topic. You know who you are, and I genuinely appreciate you taking the time to send that message. Your suggestions shape this channel in ways I cannot fully express, and I am grateful for every single one. If you are enjoying this, take a moment to like the video, subscribe if you have not already, and drop a comment letting me know where you're listening from and what time it is right now. I know someone out there is tucked in at 2:17 AM, pretending this counts as productive rest. And hey, the channel is now live on Spotify too, so if you prefer listening there, the link is in the description. Just a heads up, nothing fancy, just another way to drift off. Now dim the lights if you can, switch on a fan for that soft white noise breeze, settle in, get comfortable, really comfortable, the kind of comfortable where you're not moving for hours unless there is an actual emergency. Because tonight we are stepping into a world where beauty was not purchased, it was practiced. Where women did not buy their glow, they created it. Where the rituals were slower, quieter, and somehow more personal. A world where your grandmother could transform herself with nothing but cold cream, a bit of Vaseline, and the kind of patience we no longer seem to have. Have you ever wondered what it felt like to learn beauty secrets from your mother instead of a screen? What it was like to curl your hair without a single plug-in tool? How women managed to look polished without tutorials, without influencers, without a single product promising miracles in 30 days? What did their morning routines actually sound like, smell like, feel like? And how did they pass down these rituals generation to generation without ever writing them down? Could you survive a beauty routine from 1975? Could you handle the patience, the improvisation, the absolute trust in techniques that had no scientific backing? Just decades of women nodding and saying, "This works, trust me." Well, congratulations. You've just woken up in 1974. The bathroom mirror is foggy from the shower. Your mother is downstairs humming. A tube of Vaseline sits on the counter, and someone in the neighborhood is mowing their lawn. The day is just beginning, and so is your education in beauty tricks that time forgot. You stand in front of the bathroom mirror, face still flushed from the day, and reach for the jar. It is heavy, glass, cold to the touch. The label is simple, just a name and nothing more. No promises about youth or radiance. No ingredients list that reads like a chemistry exam. You unscrew the lid, and the scent rises. Thick, clean, faintly medicinal, like something your grandmother would have kept beside her bed. This is cold cream, and in the 1970s, it is not just a product, it is a ritual, a nightly act of trust between a woman and her skin. You scoop a generous amount onto your fingertips. It is white, thick, cool against your skin. The texture is unlike anything modern, heavier than lotion, softer than solid, somewhere in between. You begin working it into your face, spreading it across your cheeks, your forehead, your chin. It does not absorb quickly. Instead, it sits on your skin, melting slowly, pulling the day away with it. The makeup you wore, the dust from the afternoon, the invisible layer of everything you accumulated between breakfast and bedtime, all of it begins to dissolve. Your mother taught you this. She stood beside you once, years ago, demonstrating the motion. You do not rub, you press. You do not scrub, you massage. Gentle circles, working from the centre of your face outward, letting the cream do the work. She made it seem effortless, almost meditative, and now, standing here alone, you understand why. There is something calming about the slowness of it, the deliberate care, the absence of rushing. You reach for a washcloth soft from years of use and dampen it with warm water. The steam rises faintly, fogging the mirror, and you press the cloth against your face. The warmth feels soothing, grounding, and as you wipe the cream away, your skin emerges clean, soft, slightly pink from the heat. No toner, no second cleanser, no 7-step routine. Just cold cream, water, and the quiet knowledge that this is enough. The jar sits on the counter, lid slightly askew, and you glance at it as you dry your face. Your grandmother used the same brand, so did her mother. The jar has barely changed in 50 years, the same sturdy glass, the same no-nonsense label. It does not promise miracles. It does not claim to reverse time or erase wrinkles or give you the skin of someone 20 years younger. It simply does what it says it will do. It cleans, it softens, it works. You look at yourself in the mirror, face bare, skin still damp, and you feel clean in a way that goes deeper than surface. This is not the kind of clean that comes from foaming gel or exfoliating beads or charcoal masks. This is the kind of clean that feels earned, intentional, quiet. The kind that makes you feel like you are taking care of yourself, not fixing yourself. In the 1970s, cold cream was everywhere. It sat on bathroom counters in nearly every home, tucked between the toothpaste and the hairspray. Women trusted it because their mothers trusted it, and their mothers before them. It was passed down not as a trend, but as a truth. And now, standing here in this small, steam-warmed bathroom, you understand why. Because beauty, real beauty, the kind that lasts, does not come from complexity. It comes from care. And sometimes care looks like nothing more than a jar, a cloth, and the patience to do it right. Your mother leans against the doorframe, watching you fumble with the small jar. She smiles, that knowing smile mothers give when they're about to share something they learned the hard way. Vaseline, she says, as though the word itself is magic. You look at the little tub, petroleum jelly, nothing fancy, nothing expensive, and you wonder how something so ordinary could possibly matter. But she dabs a bit on her fingertips, presses it gently onto her cheekbones, and suddenly her face catches the light in a way that feels almost cinematic. You've seen this glow before, on actresses, on models, on women who seemed untouchable, and here it is, created with nothing but a drugstore staple. She gestures for you to come closer, and you do, standing beside her at the mirror. She unscrews the lid again, scoops a tiny amount onto her finger, and shows you. Just a touch, she says. Not too much. You do not want to look greasy. You want to look glowing. There is a difference. She dabs it high on your cheekbone, right where the light would naturally hit, and smooths it in with a pad of her thumb. The jelly melts into your skin, leaving behind a subtle sheen, a luminosity that was not there a moment ago. You turn your head slightly, catching the light from the window, and you see it. The way your face now has dimension, depth, life. It is not makeup, not in the traditional sense. It is something quieter, more understated. A trick of light and texture, a secret held between your skin and the world. Your mother nods approvingly. See, she says, that is all you need. She tells you about the women she knew growing up, the ones who always looked polished, radiant, even when they claimed they were not wearing anything. This was their secret. A little Vaseline on the cheekbones, a touch on the brow bone, sometimes even a hint on the eyelids for a dewy, fresh-faced look. No highlighter palettes, no strobing kits, no contouring tutorials. Just this, simple, effective, timeless. You try it yourself the next morning, standing at the mirror before school. You dab a tiny bit onto your cheekbones, blend it carefully and step back. The effect is immediate. You look awake, alive, like someone who slept well and drank enough water and has their life together. None of which is true, but the glow suggests otherwise. And that, you realize, is the real magic. The jar becomes a staple. You keep it on your dresser, next to your hairbrush and your bottle of Jean Naté. You use it before dances, before dates, before any moment when you want to look like the best version of yourself. And every time it works. Every time you catch yourself in a passing window or a mirror and think, I look good. Not perfect, not flawless, but good. Glowing. Real. Years later, you will see this same trick re-emerge in beauty tutorials, repackaged as highlighter, sold in sleek compacts with names like Champagne Pop and Moonstone. And you will smile, because you know the truth. You know it started with a little blue jar, a mother's knowing smile, and the understanding that sometimes the most transformative beauty secrets are the ones that have been sitting in your bathroom cabinet all along. Vaseline did not just give you a glow, it gave you confidence. It taught you that beauty does not have to be complicated or expensive. It showed you that the simplest tools, used with intention and care, can create something extraordinary. And in the 1970s, when everything felt like it was changing too fast, that lesson mattered more than anything. The little compact sits on the counter, black and sturdy, shaped like a tiny treasure chest. Inside is a dark pressed powder and a small plastic brush that has seen better days. Your mother picks it up, spits lightly onto the brush, the kind of casual, practical gesture that makes you flinch slightly and begins swirling it against the cake. The mascara comes to life, thick and dark, and she strokes it through her lashes with the confidence of someone who has done this 1,000 times. No wand, no tube, no waterproof promise, just spit, powder and patience. And somehow, her lashes look fuller than anything you have seen in a magazine. You watch, fascinated and slightly horrified. The spitting part feels wrong, unsanitary, like something you would be scolded for doing in public. But here, in the quiet of the bathroom, it is simply practical. The saliva activates the mascara, turns it from dry powder into workable pigment. Your mother notices your hesitation and laughs. Everyone does it this way, she says. It is not dirty, it is just how it works. She hands you the compact and you take it carefully, feeling the weight of it in your palm. It is solid, real, built to last. Not like the flimsy plastic tubes that will come later, the ones that dry out after 3 months and get tossed in the trash. This compact could survive a decade. It probably already has. You try it yourself, wetting the brush, swirling it against the cake, feeling the resistance as the mascara builds. It takes longer than you expect. You have to work for it, layering, waiting, building the colour stroke by stroke. But when you finally step back and look in the mirror, you understand. Your lashes are dark, defined, dramatic. They frame your eyes in a way that feels both natural and striking. And you did it yourself, with nothing but a compact and a little patience. The brush itself is small, stiff, unforgiving. It does not have the soft, flexible bristles of modern wands. It does not separate your lashes or add volume with a single swipe. You have to be deliberate, careful, intentional with every stroke. One wrong move and you end up with a clump, a smudge, a mess that takes minutes to fix. But when you get it right, when you find the rhythm, the result is undeniable. Your mother tells you about the women she knew who swore by this mascara, who would not switch to the newfangled tube versions even when they became available. They like the control, the precision, the ritual of it. They liked knowing exactly how much product they were using, how dark their lashes would be, how long the mascara would last. There was no guessing, no waste, no disappointment, just results. You start carrying the compact in your purse, tucked beside your lipstick and your comb. You use it before dates, before parties, before any moment when you want your eyes to stand out. And every time, you feel a connection to something larger than yourself, a lineage of women who knew how to make themselves beautiful with nothing but skill and determination. The compact becomes a kind of talisman. It is not just makeup. It is proof that you can do hard things, that you can take your time, that you can create something striking with tools that demand your full attention. In a world that is starting to value speed and convenience above all else, this mascara insists on patience, and somehow that makes it more valuable. You hear the faint clink of aluminum in the bathroom, a sound that has become as familiar as the hum of the refrigerator. Your sister is setting her hair again, rolling damp sections around empty juice, cans, the kind with the pull-tab tops that leave your fingers sticky. She secures each one with a bobby pin, her head now a strange sculpture of cylindrical metal, and she catches your eye in the mirror. "Do not laugh," she says, though she's smiling too. "This is how you get volume. This is how you get curls that last. No heated rollers, no curling irons, just patience and improvised tools." Tomorrow morning, when she pulls the cans free, her hair will fall in perfect waves, and no one will ever know the secret behind them. You lean against the doorframe, watching the process unfold. She works quickly, methodically, sectioning her hair with a comb, wrapping each piece around the can with practiced precision. The cans are all the same size, rescued from the recycling bin earlier that week, rinsed clean and repurposed. Frozen orange juice, the 6-ounce kind, the perfect diameter for the kind of curls she wants. Not too tight, not too loose, just right. She catches your skeptical look and laughs. "I know it looks ridiculous," she says, pinning another can into place, "but trust me, it works, and it is free." She has tried sponge rollers, the kind you buy at the drugstore, but they never give her the volume she wants. They are too small, too soft, too forgiving. The cans, by contrast, are firm, unyielding. They hold their shape. They give structure. By the time she is done, her head is a helmet of metal cylinders, each one jutting out at a slightly different angle. She looks absurd, like a science experiment gone wrong, and she knows it. But she also knows that tomorrow, when she wakes up and carefully removes each can, her hair will look incredible. Voluminous, bouncy, full of life. The kind of hair that makes people ask what salon she goes to, what products she uses, and she will smile and say nothing, because the secret is too strange to share. You try it yourself one Saturday night, preparing for a Sunday afternoon outing. Your sister helps you, showing you how to wrap the hair smoothly, how to secure the bobby pins so they do not dig into your scalp while you sleep. The cans feel strange against your head, cold and hard, and you wonder how you will possibly sleep like this. But she assures you that you will get used to it, that after the first 10 minutes you will barely notice them. She is wrong. You notice them all night. Every time you roll over, the cans shift, clinking softly, pressing against the pillow. You wake up twice, convinced something is wrong, only to remember that you're wearing orange juice cans in your hair. But you do not take them out. You have committed to this. You want to see if it works. Morning comes slowly, light filtering through the curtains, and you sit up carefully, reaching for the first bobby pin. You pull it free, unroll the can, and feel the hair spring loose, soft and damp and perfectly curled. You move to the next one, and the next, working quickly now, excited, and by the time you're done, your hair is transformed. The curls are big, round, bouncy, full of body. You shake your head slightly and they move with you, catching the light, framing your face. Your sister appears in the doorway grinning. "I told you," she says. You look at yourself in the mirror, turning your head from side to side, watching the curls bounce and settle. You look like someone from a shampoo commercial, like someone who knows what they're doing. And all it took was a few empty cans, some bobby pins, and the willingness to look ridiculous for one night. This is the magic of 1970s beauty. It is not about having the right tools. It is about making the tools you have work for you. It is about creativity, resourcefulness, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can make yourself beautiful with whatever is sitting in your kitchen recycling bin. The morning is already running late, and there is no time for a full wash. Your mother stands in front of the mirror shaking a bottle of baby powder into her palm. She tilts her head forward, dusts the powder through her roots, and begins massaging it into her scalp with her fingertips. The powder disappears, taking the oil with it, and when she lifts her head, her hair looks fresh, light, impossibly clean. No one has invented dry shampoo yet, not officially, not as a product you can buy in a can with a label that promises miracles. But here it is, practiced quietly in bathrooms across the country, passed down from women who learned that sometimes the simplest tricks are the ones that work. The smell hits you first, soft and powdery, faintly sweet, the scent of infants and innocence. It is comforting, familiar, the kind of smell that makes you think of clean blankets and quiet afternoons. Your mother works the powder through her hair with quick, efficient motions, her fingers moving from her hairline back toward her crown, distributing the powder evenly. A faint white dusting settles on her shoulders, and she brushes it away absently. You watch, curious. Her hair had looked flat this morning, limp and greasy from 2 days without washing. But now, as she runs her fingers through it one last time, it has volume, movement, life. The powder has absorbed the oil, lifted the roots, given her hair a second chance. She catches your eye in the mirror and smiles. "Works every time," she says. She hands you the bottle, and you shake some into your own palm. The powder is fine, silky, almost weightless. You tilt your head forward, mimicking her motions, and sprinkle it along your part, then through your roots. It feels strange at first, gritty against your scalp, but as you massage it in, the texture changes. The powder melts into your hair, disappearing, pulling the grease with it. You lift your head and check the mirror. Your hair looks cleaner, fuller, like you actually washed it this morning instead of rolling out of bed 10 minutes ago. You run your fingers through it, and it feels lighter, softer, less weighed down. The transformation is small but significant, enough to make you feel put together, presentable, ready to face the day. Your mother tells you she learned this from her mother, who learned it from a neighbour, who learned it from a magazine article sometime in the 1940s. It has been around forever, this trick, passed quietly from woman to woman, generation to generation. No one makes a big deal about it. No one writes articles calling it revolutionary or game-changing. It is just something women know, something they do when time is short and standards are still high. The bottle of baby powder becomes a fixture on your bathroom counter, sitting beside the hairspray and the lipstick. You use it on rushed mornings, on days when you slept through your alarm, on weekends when washing your hair feels like too much effort, and every time it works. Every time you feel grateful for this small, simple trick that saves you time and makes you feel human. Years from now, someone will invent dry shampoo in an aerosol can. They will package it in sleek bottles, give it names like Refresh and Revive, charge $15 for something that essentially does what baby powder has been doing for free for decades, and you will buy it because it is convenient, because it smells like something other than babies, because it feels modern and sophisticated. But you will never forget where it came from. You will never forget your mother standing in front of the mirror on a rush Tuesday morning, shaking baby powder into her hair with the kind of casual confidence that comes from knowing a secret the rest of the world is not caught up to yet. And you will smile, because you know that the best beauty tricks are not the ones that get invented. They are the ones that get remembered. Your aunt fills a small bowl with ice cubes, wraps one in a thin washcloth, and presses it gently against her face. She moves it in slow circles across her forehead, down her cheeks, along her jawline, and you watch as her skin tightens, brightens, wakes up. This is her morning ritual, the thing she does before anything else, and she swears by it with the kind of conviction that makes you believe her. No serums, no toners, no 10-step routines, just cold, deliberate pressure and the trust that something this simple could possibly work. And it does. Her skin glows, her pores tighten, and she smiles at you in the mirror, knowing she's just shared something you'll carry with you for years. The ice is fresh from the freezer, hard and clear, clinking softly as she drops several cubes into the bowl. The sound is crisp, clean, almost musical. She wraps one in a soft white washcloth, folding the fabric carefully so the ice will not slip out, and holds it against her forehead. Her eyes close briefly, and you see her exhale, a slow release of tension. The cold is shocking at first, she tells you, but your skin adjusts, and then it feels incredible. She moves the wrapped cube in deliberate circles, pressing gently but firmly, working from the centre of her face outward, across her forehead, down the bridge of her nose, over her cheekbones, along her jaw. The cold leaves a faint pink trail wherever it touches, a flush of colour that fades quickly but leaves her skin looking vibrant, alive. Her pores seem to shrink before your eyes, tightening, smoothing, disappearing into the general perfection of her complexion. You ask her where she learned this, and she laughs. From my mother, she says, who learned it from her mother, who probably learned it from hers. It is old, this trick, older than any product you can buy. Women have always known that cold water tightens skin, that ice reduces swelling, that a little discomfort in the morning can make you look better all day. It is not complicated. It is just true. She hands you a fresh ice cube, wrapped in its own cloth, and gestures for you to try. You press it tentatively against your cheek, and the cold hits you like a slap. Your instinct is to pull away, but you force yourself to hold it there, moving it in slow circles the way she did. The shock fades after a few seconds, replaced by a tingling numbness, and then something else, a sense of wakefulness, alertness, clarity. Your skin feels tight, smooth, energized. You work the ice across your face, following her lead, and when you finally pull it away and look in the mirror, you see the difference. Your skin looks brighter, more awake, like you've been outside in crisp winter air. Your cheeks are pink, your eyes are clear, and you feel ready for the day in a way you did not 5 minutes ago. Your aunt rinses the washcloths, wringing them out and hanging them to dry. This is what I do every morning, she says. Before coffee, before breakfast, before anything. It wakes me up better than anything else. And it keeps my skin looking good. No creams, no treatments, just ice. She tells you about women she knows who swear by this, who have been doing it for 30 years and still have skin that looks 10 years younger than it should. She tells you about actresses who do this before photo shoots, about models who keep ice on hand backstage. It is not a secret exactly, but it is not widely known either. It is one of those things that gets passed down quietly, woman to woman, in bathrooms and bedrooms and early morning conversations. You start doing it yourself, filling a bowl with ice every morning, wrapping a cube in a soft cloth, pressing it against your face before you do anything else. It becomes a ritual, a moment of stillness before the day begins. The cold is grounding, centering, a reminder that beauty does not have to be complicated. Sometimes it is just water, frozen, applied with intention and care. And every morning when you look in the mirror afterward, you see your aunt's face reflected back at you, her smile, her confidence, her unshakable belief that the simplest things are often the ones that work best, and you know she is right. Summer afternoons meant sitting in the backyard, a spray bottle filled with lemon juice in hand, misting your hair until it smelled sharp and citrusy. You would lie in the sun, book in hand, letting the heat do its work, and hours later, when you finally came inside, your hair would catch the light differently. Subtle streaks, honey-coloured and warm, had appeared as if by accident, though you knew better. This was the trick your older cousin taught you, the one she learned from a friend who learned it from her sister. No salon, no foils, no ammonia smell, just lemons, sunshine, and the patience to sit still while summer worked its quiet magic. The process begins in the kitchen. You cut several lemons in half, squeezing the juice into a measuring cup, watching it collect, pale yellow and pulpy. You strain it through a sieve, pour it into a spray bottle, and add a bit of water to dilute it. The mixture is simple, humble, nothing more than fruit and patience. You screw the top onto the bottle, shake it gently, and head outside. The backyard is warm, the grass soft beneath your bare feet. You find a spot in full sun, lay out a towel and settle in. The spray bottle sits beside you, already warm from the short walk outside. You pick it up, mist your hair generously, and feel the cool liquid drip down your neck onto your shoulders. The smell is sharp, bright, unmistakably lemon. It makes your nose wrinkle slightly, but you do not mind. This is the smell of summer, of transformation, of becoming. You lie back, letting the sun hit your face, your arms, your hair. The book in your hand is forgotten after a few pages. The warmth is too soothing, too hypnotic. You close your eyes, listening to the sounds of the neighbourhood. A lawnmower in the distance, a dog barking, the faint hum of cicadas. Time stretches, languid and slow, and you drift in and out of consciousness, half asleep, half awake, perfectly content. Every 20 minutes or so you sit up, spray your hair again, lie back down. The lemon juice dries quickly in the heat, leaving your hair stiff, sticky, slightly crunchy. You do not worry about it. You know that tonight when you shower, it will rinse away, leaving behind only the colour. Hours pass. The sun shifts across the sky. Your skin pinks slightly, despite the sunscreen you remember to apply. Your hair, by now, has been misted and dried, and misted again at least 5 times. You sit up, stretch, and head inside, squinting against the dimness of the house after so long in the bright light. In the bathroom, you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror. Your hair is wild, tangled, crusty with dried lemon juice, but underneath the mess you can already see it. Faint streaks of lighter colour, honey and gold woven through the brown. They are subtle, natural looking, exactly what you wanted. You smile. That night you wash your hair, working the shampoo through slowly, rinsing away the stickiness, the smell, the evidence of the day. When you step out of the shower and towel dry your hair, the streaks are still there, more visible now, catching the bathroom light. They look like they have always been there, like the sun just happened to touch your hair in all the right places. Your cousin calls that evening, and you tell her it worked. "Of course it worked," she says, laughing. "It always works. Just wait until you do it a few more times. By the end of summer you will look like you spent a fortune at a salon." She's right. You repeat the process every week, lying in the sun, misting your hair, letting the lemon and heat do their slow, steady work. And by August, your hair is streaked with gold, lighter at the ends, sun-kissed and natural. People ask if you got it done professionally. You smile and say no, just the sun. And it is true. The sun did this. The sun and lemons, and your willingness to spend long, lazy afternoons doing nothing but lying in the grass, waiting for summer to change you. The bathroom smells faintly of lavender, and your mother is standing at the sink, a bar of soap in her hand. She runs it under warm water, working up a lather in her palms, and then smooths it over her legs in slow, careful strokes. The razor glides easily, the soap providing just enough slip, just enough cushion, and when she rinses, her skin is smooth, soft, unbothered. No cans, no aerosol hiss, no shaving cream that smells like artificial flowers. Just soap, water, and a steady hand. It is simple, practical, and somehow more intimate than anything that comes in a package. You watch from the doorway, curious. You've seen the commercials on television, the ones with women in bathtubs surrounded by mountains of white foam, smiling as though shaving is the highlight of their day. The cream in those commercials comes in tall metal cans, dispensed with a satisfying hiss, spreading thick and rich across the skin. It looks modern, sophisticated, effortless. But your mother does not use it. She uses soap. She catches you watching and smiles. This works just as well, she says, maybe better, and it does not dry out your skin. She holds the bar under the water again, working up more lather, and spreads it across her other leg. Her movements are practiced, efficient, the kind of motion that comes from years of repetition. She picks up the razor, a simple metal one with a single blade, and begins shaving in long, smooth strokes, rinsing the razor under the faucet between passes. The soap lather is thinner than shaving cream, less showy, but it does its job. The razor glides smoothly, leaving behind clean, pale skin. Your mother rinses her leg under the faucet, running her hand over it to check for smoothness, and nods, satisfied. She dries off with a towel, applies a bit of lotion, and turns to you. Want to try? You nod, and she hands you the soap. You run it under the water, working up a lather in your palms, feeling the slickness of it, the way it transforms from solid to foam with just a little friction. You spread it over your leg and the soap feels cool, soothing, clean. You pick up the razor, and your mother guides your hand, showing you the angle, the pressure, the direction. Not too hard, she says. Let the razor do the work. You make the first stroke, tentative, careful. The razor glides smoothly, and when you rinse it under the water, you see the soap and a few fine hairs swirling away down the drain. You continue, gaining confidence, and by the time you finish your leg, your skin is smooth, soft, completely hair-free. You rinse away the remaining soap and your mother hands you the lotion. Always moisturize after, she says. It keeps your skin from getting dry. The bar of soap sits on the edge of the sink, softened slightly from use, but still solid, still good for dozens more shaves. It is ivory, the kind that floats, or sometimes dove, the kind that promises moisturizing care. Either way, it is cheap, reliable, and it works. Your mother has been shaving this way for years, and her skin is always smooth, never irritated, never covered in the red bumps you've seen on other women. You ask her why she does not use shaving cream, and she shrugs. I tried it once, she says. It was fine, but didn't work any better than soap, and it cost more. So I went back to this. She dries her hands on a towel, hangs it neatly on the rack. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. You start using soap too, standing at the sink with a bar in your hand, working up lather, shaving your legs with the same deliberate care your mother showed you. It becomes a ritual, a quiet moment of self-care that does not require special products or equipment. Just soap, water, a razor, and a little time. And every time you do it, you think of your mother standing at that same sink, teaching you that beauty does not have to be complicated, that sometimes the simplest tools are the ones that work best. That soap, ordinary soap, the kind you use to wash your hands, can do more than a dozen fancy products ever could. All you have to do is trust it. Your grandmother stands at the kitchen counter, measuring sugar into a small bowl. She adds a bit of olive oil, stirring until it forms a thick, grainy paste, and then she beckons you over. "Rub this on your hands," she says, and you do, feeling the sugar crystals scrape gently against your skin. The oil softens everything. The sugar sloughs away the roughness, and when you rinse, your hands feel new, soft, impossibly smooth. This is her secret, the thing she does before every special occasion, and she teaches it to you the way her mother taught her, with no recipe, no measurements, just instinct and trust. The sugar she uses is white, granulated, the kind that sits in a canister beside the flour. She scoops it with a tablespoon, dumping it into a small ceramic bowl, eyeing the amount rather than measuring precisely. "Enough to coat your hands," she says, "maybe a quarter cup." She drizzles olive oil over the sugar, stirring with a spoon until the mixture comes together. Thick and paste-like, the sugar crystals glistening with oil. She dips her own hands in first, scooping up a generous amount, and begins rubbing her palms together. The sound is rough, gritty, almost abrasive, and she works the scrub over her hands in slow circles, across her palms, over the backs between her fingers. The sugar crystals exfoliate, scraping away dead skin, calluses, rough patches, everything that has built up from years of work, of gardening, of washing dishes without gloves. The oil coats her skin, moisturizing as she scrubs, so that even as the sugar strips away roughness, the oil replaces it with softness. She rinses her hands under warm water, and the sugar dissolves, swirling down the drain, leaving behind only the faint sheen of oil. She dries her hands on a towel and holds them out for you to see. "Feel," she says. You touch her hand, and it is impossibly soft, smooth as silk, no rough spots, no dry patches, nothing but softness. Now you try. You scoop the scrub into your palms, and it feels strange at first, gritty and slick at the same time. You rub your hands together, and the sugar scratches at your skin, rough but not painful, abrasive but not harsh. You work it over your hands the way she did, taking your time, feeling the texture, the transformation happening under your fingertips. The sugar breaks down slowly, dissolving bit by bit, and your hands begin to feel different, smoother, softer, renewed. You rinse under warm water, watching the sugar melt away, and when you dry your hands, they feel incredible, better than they have in weeks, softer than any lotion has ever made them. You look at your grandmother, amazed, and she smiles. "I do this before every wedding, every holiday, every time I want my hands to look nice. And it works, every single time." She tells you that her mother used to do this with salt instead of sugar, coarser, more aggressive, for really rough hands. But sugar is gentler, she says, better for everyday use, and the oil can be anything: olive oil, vegetable oil, even coconut oil if you have it. The point is not the specific ingredients. The point is the combination, the exfoliation and the moisture working together, transforming your skin in the span of a few minutes. You start making this scrub yourself, standing at your own kitchen counter, measuring sugar and oil by feel rather than by cup. You use it on your hands before dates, before job interviews, before any moment when you want to feel polished, put together, ready. And every time it works. Every time you look down at your hands afterward and think, these are not the hands of someone who is struggling. These are the hands of someone who has their life together. The best part is the simplicity. You do not have to go to the store. You do not have to spend money on expensive scrubs with complicated ingredient lists and promises that may or may not be true. You just go to your kitchen, pull out the sugar and the oil, and make it yourself. It takes 2 minutes, it costs pennies, and it works better than anything you could buy. Your grandmother was right. The old ways, the simple ways, the ways that get passed down in kitchens rather than sold in stores, they are often the best ways. Because they are not trying to sell you anything. They are just trying to help you. And in the 1970s, when beauty was still something you made rather than something you bought, that mattered more than anything. The evening is quiet, the house settling into its nighttime hum, and your mother sits at her vanity, sectioning her damp hair into small, precise loops. She pins each curl flat against her scalp, working methodically, patiently, until her entire head is covered in tiny metal spirals. No heat, no products, no styling tools, just water, pins, and the knowledge that tomorrow morning when she releases them, her hair will fall in soft, elegant waves. You watch her work, mesmerized by the ritual, and she catches your eye in the mirror. "This is how we did it," she says. "This is how we always did it." Her hair is freshly washed, still damp but not dripping, towel-dried just enough to be workable. She sits in front of her vanity mirror, a small tray of bobby pins beside her, and begins combing her hair into sections. The first section is small, maybe an inch wide, and she wraps it around her finger, creating a flat coil that sits snug against her scalp. She slides a bobby pin over it, securing it in place, and moves to the next section. You ask her how she learned this, and she tells you it was her mother, of course, who learned it from her mother. Back then, she says, this was how everyone curled their hair, before electric rollers, before curling irons, before blow dryers. You washed your hair, you set it in pin curls, you slept on it, and in the morning you had curls. It was simple, it worked. She continues working, her fingers moving quickly, automatically, each curl the same size, the same tightness, the same flat shape against her head. By the time she's halfway done, her head looks strange, covered in neat rows of metal pins like a helmet made of spirals, but she does not seem to mind. This is just part of the process. This is what you do. You ask if it is uncomfortable to sleep on, and she shrugs. A little, at first. But you get used to it, and it is worth it. The curls last for days. You can brush them out, style them, pin them up, let them down, and they still hold. That is the beauty of it. It is not a quick fix. It is a real set. She finishes the last curl, securing it with a final bobby pin, and wraps a silk scarf around her head to protect the curls while she sleeps. She stands, checking herself in the mirror one last time, and smiles at the absurdity of it. I look ridiculous, she says, but tomorrow I will look beautiful. The next morning you wake early, curious to see the results. You find her in the bathroom, carefully removing the pins one by one, watching as each curl springs free. The hair falls in tight uniform spirals, and she runs her fingers through them gently, loosening them, coaxing them into softer waves. By the time she is done, her hair is transformed. Soft, voluminous, perfectly curled, cascading over her shoulders in elegant waves. She looks at herself in the mirror, satisfied, and turns to you. See? Worth it. You try it yourself a few weeks later, sitting at your own vanity, wet hair combed into sections, bobby pins ready. The process is harder than it looked. Your curls are uneven, some too tight, some too loose, some not quite flat against your head. You pin them anyway, determined, and wrap a scarf around your head before bed. That night, you sleep poorly. The pins dig into your scalp, uncomfortable and strange, and you wake up twice, convinced you have made a terrible mistake. But in the morning, when you remove the pins, you understand. Your hair falls in curls, Not perfect, but real, lasting, beautiful. You run your fingers through them, separating them, softening them, and by the time you're done, you look like someone from a movie. Glamorous, polished, ready for anything. Pin curls become your secret weapon. You set them before dates, before parties, before any moment when you want to look your best, and every time they work. Every time you feel a connection to your mother, your grandmother, all the women who sat at vanities just like this, pinning their hair, trusting the process, knowing that beauty takes time but is always worth the wait. The bathroom counter holds a small box of baking soda, the kind your mother keeps for a dozen different purposes. She sprinkles a bit onto her toothbrush, dampens it with water, and begins brushing in slow, deliberate circles. The taste is strange, slightly salty, nothing like the mint-flavoured paste that comes in tubes, but she does not mind. This is what works, she tells you. This is what keeps your teeth clean, bright, strong. And when she smiles at you in the mirror, her teeth gleam, proof that sometimes the oldest tricks are the ones that still matter. The box sits beside the sink, orange and familiar, with that Arm & Hammer logo you've seen 1,000 times. Your mother keeps it for everything, baking, cleaning, deodorizing the refrigerator, and now this. She taps a small amount onto the bristles of her toothbrush, just enough to coat them, and runs the brush under the faucet for a second. The baking soda turns into a thin paste, gritty and white, clinging to the bristles. She brushes slowly, methodically, paying attention to each tooth, the fronts, the backs, the spaces in between. The taste is unfamiliar, alkaline and flat, with none of the sweetness or sharpness of regular toothpaste. But she does not flinch. She's been doing this for years, ever since her own mother taught her, and she trusts it completely. You watch, curious and slightly skeptical. The toothpaste you use comes in a colourful tube, tastes like spearmint or cinnamon, foams up satisfyingly in your mouth. It feels modern, scientific, like something developed in a laboratory by people who understand teeth. This, by comparison, feels primitive. Just a powder from a box, no fluoride label, no whitening promise, no fresh breath guarantee printed in bold letters. But when your mother rinses and smiles, you see the difference. Her teeth are white, genuinely white. Not the dull ivory that comes from years of coffee and neglect, but bright, clean, almost luminous. She runs her tongue over them, checking, and nods, satisfied. Better than any toothpaste I have ever bought, she says. She explains that baking soda is mildly abrasive, just enough to scrub away stains without damaging enamel. It neutralizes acids, freshens breath, polishes teeth to a natural shine, and it costs almost nothing. The box sitting on the counter is maybe 50 cents, and it lasts for months. Compare that to the fancy tubes at the drugstore, the ones that promise whitening in 2 weeks, sensitivity relief, tartar control, all for $3 or $4 a tube. You try it yourself one morning, shaking a bit of baking soda onto your toothbrush, wetting it, bringing it cautiously to your mouth. The taste hits you immediately, strange and mineral, like licking a stone. You force yourself to keep brushing, working it over your teeth, feeling the grit, the slight roughness, the way it scrubs without being harsh. You brush for 2 minutes, the way the dentist always tells you to, and then rinse, spitting the white residue into the sink. You run your tongue over your teeth, and they feel different, smoother, cleaner. Like the film that is always there, the invisible coating you never quite notice has been stripped away. You smile at yourself in the mirror, and your teeth look brighter, whiter, more alive. Your mother appears behind you, smiling knowingly. "See," she says, "I told you it works." You start using it regularly, alternating with your regular toothpaste, and over the weeks you notice the change. Your teeth are whiter, your mouth feels cleaner, and you save money on expensive whitening treatments you do not need. The box of baking soda becomes a permanent fixture on your bathroom counter, right beside the toothbrush holder, a quiet reminder that sometimes the best solutions are the ones that have been sitting in your kitchen cupboard all along. Your grandmother used baking soda. Your mother uses it. And now you use it too, brushing your teeth with the same powder women have trusted for generations, knowing that it works, that it has always worked, and that no amount of modern marketing can improve on something this simple, this effective, this true. Before bed, your sister sits on the edge of the tub, a small tub of Vaseline in her lap. She dips a clean fingertip into the jelly, then carefully strokes it along her lashes, coating each one in a thin, glossy layer. "This makes them grow," she says confidently, though you're not sure where she learned it or whether it is even true. But she does it every night, without fail, and months later you notice her lashes are longer, darker, fuller. Maybe it worked. Maybe it was just time. But the ritual itself, that quiet nightly act of hope, becomes something you remember long after you've stopped questioning whether it was real. She sits there in her pajamas, legs crossed, the little blue jar balanced on her knee. The bathroom light casts a soft glow, and she tilts her head back slightly, closing her eyes, accessing her lashes more easily. Her finger is slick with jelly, and she applies it carefully, starting at the base of her lashes and working outward, coating each lash from root to tip. The Vaseline catches the light, making her lashes look wet, glossy, almost theatrical. She blinks slowly, feeling the weight of the jelly, and then repeats the process on the other eye. Her movements are practiced, deliberate, the actions of someone who has done this so many times it has become second nature. You ask her where she heard about this, and she shrugs. A girl at school, she says, her older sister told her. Apparently their mother did it too. She dips her finger back into the jar, scooping up a bit more. It is supposed to condition them, she explains, keep them from breaking, help them grow longer. And even if it does not work, it cannot hurt, right? You are skeptical. Vaseline is petroleum jelly, not some miracle serum. It is the stuff you put on chapped lips and dry elbows, not eyelashes. But your sister is convinced, and her conviction is contagious. So a few nights later, when she offers you the jar, you take it. The jelly is thick, heavier than you expected, and it takes effort to scoop a small amount onto your fingertip. You close your eyes, mimicking her technique, and stroke the jelly along your lashes. It feels strange, slick, and heavy, like your lashes are coated in a layer of gloss. You blink, and they stick together slightly, clumped with jelly. You wonder if you have used too much. Your sister checks your work and nods approvingly. "That is good," she says. "Just do not get it in your eyes. It stings. You make it part of your routine." Every night after washing your face, after brushing your teeth, you sit on the edge of the tub and apply Vaseline to your lashes. It becomes a ritual, a small act of care, a moment of quiet hope. You do not think about whether it is working. You just do it, trusting the process, trusting your sister, trusting the generations of women who supposedly did this before you. Weeks pass, then months. You do not measure your lashes or take before and after photos. You just live your life, applying jelly every night, barely thinking about it. And then one day, someone compliments your lashes. "They're so long," they say. "Are they real?" You look in the mirror that night, really look, and you realize they're right. Your lashes are longer, thicker, darker. You cannot say for certain whether it was the Vaseline or just natural growth, whether it was the conditioning or just time, but something happened. Something changed. Your sister catches you examining yourself in the mirror and grins. "I told you," she says. And maybe she's right. Maybe the Vaseline works some quiet magic, coating your lashes every night, protecting them, nourishing them, helping them grow. Or maybe the magic was in the ritual itself, in the nightly act of caring for yourself, of believing that something as simple as petroleum jelly could make you more beautiful. Either way, you keep doing it, because it works, or because you believe it works. And in the 1970s, when beauty is still something you create rather than something you buy, belief is often enough. Your mother brews a pot of tea in the afternoon, and when she is done, she does not throw the bags away. Instead, she lets them cool, then presses them gently against her closed eyelids, leaning back in her chair with a sigh. The tannins soothe the puffiness. The coolness calms the redness. And when she opens her eyes, she looks rested, refreshed, renewed. This is her secret, the thing she does when the day has been too long, and she teaches it to you with a kind of casual wisdom that comes from years of trial and error. The teapot sits on the kitchen counter, still warm, a faint wisp of steam rising from the spout. Your mother lifts the 2 used tea bags from the pot with a spoon, placing them on a small saucer to cool. They are dark, swollen with liquid, dripping slightly. She does not rinse them, does not squeeze them out, just lets them sit, waiting for them to reach the right temperature. Too hot and they burn, too cold and they do not work as well. Room temperature is perfect. She carries the saucer to the living room, settles into her favourite chair and leans her head back. She picks up 1 tea bag, tests it against her wrist to make sure it's not too warm, and then places it gently over her closed eyelid. The bag is wet, cool, slightly heavy. She repeats with the second bag covering the other eye, and then she exhales deeply, letting her whole body relax. You watch from the doorway, fascinated. She looks strange, sitting there with tea bags on her eyes, her face tilted toward the ceiling, completely still. But she also looks peaceful, like she's found a moment of rest in the middle of a chaotic day. After a few minutes, she speaks without opening her eyes. The tannins in the tea reduce swelling, she says, and the coolness helps with redness. I learned this from my mother. She used to do it every afternoon, back when she was working and tired all the time. She said it made her look human again. You ask if it really works, and she smiles, eyes still closed. Try it and see. The next time you wake up with puffy eyes, after a late night or a crying session or just a bad night of sleep, you remember. You brew a cup of tea, not for drinking, but for this, and when the bag is done steeping, you let it cool on a saucer. You carry it to your room, lie down on your bed, and place the cool, damp bag over your eyes. The sensation is immediate. The coolness soothes, the slight weight feels grounding, and the dampness seems to draw out the puffiness, the heat, the evidence of your exhaustion. You lie there for 10 minutes, maybe 15, letting the tea work its quiet magic. When you remove the bags and look in the mirror, the difference is undeniable. Your eyes are less swollen, less red, less like you have been awake for 36 hours straight. You look rested, not perfect, but better, noticeably better. You tell your mother it worked, and she nods, unsurprised. Of course it worked, she says. It always works. The tea bags become your secret weapon. You keep them after every cup of tea, storing them in the refrigerator in a small bowl, cold and ready for whenever you need them. Before important events, before dates, before mornings when you need to look awake despite getting no sleep, you reach for those tea bags, and every time they work. Every time you lie back, close your eyes, feel the cool weight of the bags against your eyelids, and emerge looking better, feeling better, more human. It is not glamorous. It is not the kind of beauty trick that gets featured in magazines or advertised on television. But it is real, it is effective, and it cost nothing. Your mother was right. Sometimes the best solutions are the ones that have been sitting in your kitchen all along, waiting for you to notice them, to trust them, to let them help you in the small, quiet ways that matter most. Your grandmother opens the cupboard, pulls out a small tin of cornstarch, and dabs a bit onto a powder puff. She presses it gently against her face, blending it into her skin with soft practice strokes, and the shine disappears. Her skin looks smooth, matte, flawless. "This is what I used," she tells you, before they started selling all those fancy powders, and it worked just fine. You watch her, fascinated by the simplicity of it, by the quiet confidence she has in something so ordinary. The tin is simple, cylindrical, with a plain label that lists cornstarch as the only ingredient. No talc, no fragrance, no added minerals or silicones or any of the things that will eventually fill powder compacts in the decades to come. Just cornstarch, the same powder she uses to thicken gravy and dust on baking sheets. She taps a small amount onto the powder puff, a soft cotton pad that has yellowed slightly with age. The cornstarch is pure white, finer than flour, almost weightless. She presses the puff against her cheek and the powder adheres instantly, settling into her skin, absorbing the shine that had accumulated through the morning. She works it across her face in gentle patting motions, not rubbing, not dragging, just pressing, letting the cornstarch do its work, across her forehead, down her nose, over her chin. The powder disappears almost immediately, leaving no visible residue, no white cast, nothing but a smooth, matte finish. You ask her how she learned this, and she laughs. "Everyone used it," she says. "Back in my day, you did not run to the store every time you needed something. You used what you had. Cornstarch for powder, beet juice for lipstick, coal dust for mascara if you were desperate enough. We made do." She hands you the powder puff, and you press it tentatively against your own face. The cornstarch feels soft, silky, almost like nothing at all. You dab it onto your nose, your forehead, the places where your skin tends to get shiny, and watch as the powder absorbs the oil, leaving your skin matte and smooth. Your grandmother watches approvingly. See? Works just as well as anything you can buy. Better even. No chemicals, no perfume, no irritation. Just starch. You start keeping a small container of cornstarch on your dresser, beside your hairbrush and your bottle of perfume. You use it in the morning after washing your face, a light dusting to keep shine at bay. You use it midday when the oil starts to break through, a quick touch-up to keep yourself looking fresh. And you use it before going out, a final layer to ensure your face stays matte under the lights, under the scrutiny, under the gaze of anyone who might be looking. The cornstarch never fails. It absorbs oil without caking, mattifies without looking chalky, keeps you shine-free without drying out your skin, and it costs almost nothing. The box in the cupboard is maybe 75 cents, and it lasts for months, maybe even a year if you use it sparingly. Years later, when you finally buy your first compact of pressed powder, marketed as oil-absorbing, shine-controlling, made with special minerals, you will read the ingredients list and see cornstarch near the top, and you will smile, because you knew it all along. The fancy powder companies did not invent anything. They just packaged what your grandmother had been using for free, put it in a pretty compact and charged $5 for it. But you will never forget standing in her kitchen, watching her dab cornstarch onto her face with a powder puff, seeing the transformation, learning that beauty does not require a trip to the store or a drawer full of products. Sometimes beauty is just knowing what works, trusting what has always worked, and having the confidence to reach into your cupboard instead of your wallet. The kitchen smells faintly of breakfast, and your mother is cracking an egg over a bowl, separating the yolk from the white with practiced ease. She whisks the white until it is frothy, then spreads it across her face in a thin, even layer. It tightens as it dries, pulling her skin taut, and she sits perfectly still, waiting. 20 minutes later, she rinses it away and her face looks firmer, brighter, lifted. "This is what we did," she says. "This is what worked." The egg cracks cleanly against the rim of the bowl, and your mother pulls the shell apart, letting the white slip into the bowl while the yolk remains cradled in one half of the shell. She transfers the yolk back and forth between the shell halves, letting the remaining white drip away until only the yolk remains, bright yellow and intact. She sets it aside, saving it for scrambled eggs later, and focuses on the white. She picks up a fork and begins whisking, the tines cutting through the viscous liquid, turning it frothy, airy, almost like meringue. The motion is quick, efficient, and within a minute the egg white has transformed from clear liquid to cloudy foam. She dips her fingers into it, scoops up a small amount and spreads it across her cheek. The egg white is cool, slick, slightly sticky. She works it over her face in smooth strokes, covering her forehead, her nose, her chin, everywhere except her eyes and mouth. The layer is thin, almost invisible, but you can see it glistens slightly in the light. She washes her hands, dries them on a towel, and settles into a chair to wait. You watch as the egg white dries. It happens slowly, gradually, the wet shine fading, replaced by a matte, tight finish. Your mother's face begins to look stiff, her skin pulled taut by the drying protein. She cannot smile, cannot move her face much at all without feeling the pull, the tightness, the mask drawing her skin inward. She sits perfectly still, reading a magazine, turning pages carefully so as not to jostle her face. You ask her if it feels weird, and she nods, just barely. "Very weird," she says, her mouth barely moving. But it works. After 20 minutes, she stands and walks to the sink. She turns on the warm water and begins splashing it onto her face, working gently to dissolve the dried egg white. It comes away in thin, filmy layers, peeling slightly, rinsing down the drain. She pats her face dry with a towel and turns to you, and you can see the difference immediately. Her skin looks tighter, smoother, more lifted. The fine lines around her eyes seem less pronounced, her jawline more defined. She touches her face, feeling the tautness, and smiles. "See? Like a mini facelift. Costs nothing but an egg." She tells you that her mother used to do this before every special occasion, weddings, parties, important dinners. It was her secret weapon, the thing that made her look 10 years younger for one night. And now your mother does the same, reaching for an egg instead of a serum, trusting the simple protein to tighten, firm, and lift in ways that no cream ever could. You try it yourself a few weeks later, standing in the kitchen, cracking an egg, separating the white, whisking it into foam. You spread it across your face, feeling the coolness, the stickiness, and then you wait. The tightening sensation is strange, almost uncomfortable, like your skin is being pulled from the inside. But you sit still, patient, trusting the process. When you rinse it away and look in the mirror, you understand. Your face looks different, tighter, firmer, more awake. It is not permanent, you know that. By tomorrow, the effect will have faded. But for tonight, for this moment, you look like the best version of yourself. The egg white mask becomes your secret too. You use it before dates, before job interviews, before any moment when you need to look your absolute best. And every time, it works. Every time you stand in your kitchen, whisking an egg white, spreading it across your face, waiting for it to dry, and emerging transformed. Not because of some expensive treatment or miracle product, but because of an egg. Just an egg. The same thing sitting in your refrigerator right now, waiting to be breakfast, but also, secretly, quietly, something more. Your older sister stands at the bathroom sink, a cotton ball soaked in rubbing alcohol pressed against her forehead. She swipes it across her T-zone, the alcohol cutting through the oil, leaving her skin matte and slightly tight. It stings a bit, she admits, but it works. And in the 1970s, that is all that matters. No one is worrying about pH balance or skin barriers. They're worrying about shine, about breakouts, about looking put together. And this, harsh as it is, gets the job done. The bottle of rubbing alcohol sits on the counter, the label plain and clinical, listing isopropyl alcohol as the only ingredient. 70% concentration, the kind you use to disinfect cuts, to clean thermometers, to sterilize tweezers. Your sister unscrews. The cap and the smell hits you immediately, sharp and medicinal, cutting through the air like a warning. She pours a small amount onto a cotton ball, just enough to saturate it, and presses it against her forehead. The alcohol evaporates almost instantly, leaving her skin feeling tight, stripped, completely matte. She swipes the cotton ball down her nose, across her chin, over the areas where oil tends to accumulate, where her skin shines by midday no matter how many times she blots it with tissue. The cotton ball comes away stained, faintly grey, evidence of the oil, the dirt, the invisible layer of grime that accumulates throughout the day. Your sister examines it with satisfaction, then tosses it in the trash and reaches for a fresh one. She repeats the process, swiping, patting, pressing, until the cotton ball comes away clean. You ask her if it hurts, and she shrugs. It stings a little, she says, but not much, and it works better than anything else I have tried. All those toners they sell at the drugstore, they do not do anything. This actually works. She tells you about her friend whose older sister is a nurse, who told her that alcohol is the best thing for oily skin, that it cuts through oil like nothing else, that it kills bacteria and prevents breakouts. Your sister has been using it for months, and her skin has never looked better. The shine is gone, the breakouts have diminished, and her face stays matte all day. You try it yourself one afternoon, when your skin feels particularly oily, when you catch your reflection in a window and see the shine across your forehead. You pour alcohol onto a cotton ball, brace yourself, and swipe it across your T-zone. The sting is immediate, sharp but brief, and then it fades, replaced by a tight, clean feeling. You look in the mirror, and the shine is gone. Your skin is matte, completely matte, almost unnaturally so. Your sister appears in the doorway grinning. Told you, she says. You start using it regularly, every morning, every night, wiping away the oil, the shine, the evidence of your body's natural sebum production. Your skin stays matte, your breakouts decrease, and you feel more in control, more put together, more like someone who has figured out how to manage their face. But there is a cost. Your skin becomes drier, tighter, more sensitive. You start needing moisturizer in a way you never did before, slathering it on after the alcohol to compensate for the stripping, the tightness, the way your skin feels almost squeaky clean. You do not think much of it at the time. You're young, your skin is resilient, and the matte finish is worth the trade-off. Years later, you will learn about pH balance, about skin barriers, about how alcohol disrupts your skin's natural protective layer, how it can actually cause your skin to produce more oil in response to being stripped. You will switch to gentler toners, alcohol-free formulas that promise to balance rather than obliterate. But you will never forget the rubbing alcohol, the sharp sting, the instant mattifying effect, the way it made you feel in control of your skin in a decade when oil was the enemy and shine was failure. The bathroom smells sharp, tangy, almost unbearable, and you wrinkle your nose as your mother pours a mixture of vinegar and water over her freshly washed hair. She works it through from roots to ends, then rinses it away, and when she steps out of the shower, her hair gleams. The vinegar strips away the build-up, the residue, the dullness, and leaves behind nothing but shine. It is an old trick, one her mother taught her, and she teaches it to you with the same matter-of-fact tone, as though everyone in the world should already know this. She mixes it in a plastic cup, 1 part white vinegar to 4 parts water, measuring by eye rather than with any precision. The vinegar is the cheap kind from the grocery store, the gallon jug that costs less than $1 and lasts for months. She stirs it with her finger, and the smell intensifies, acrid and unmistakable. You stand outside the shower, watching through the gap in the curtain as she tilts her head back and pours the mixture over her hair. It runs down her scalp, over her shoulders, pooling briefly before swirling down the drain. She works her fingers through her hair, massaging the vinegar solution into every strand, making sure it reaches from roots to ends. The smell is overwhelming. It fills the bathroom, seeping out into the hallway, announcing itself to everyone in the house. You can taste it in the back of your throat, sour and sharp. Your mother does not seem bothered. She rinses thoroughly, letting the water run through her hair for a full minute, washing away the vinegar, the smell, everything but the effect. When she steps out of the shower and wraps her hair in a towel, you expect it to still smell like vinegar, but it does not. The scent is gone, rinsed away completely, leaving behind only the faint smell of her shampoo. She unwraps the towel and her hair falls damp and heavy over her shoulders. Even wet, you can see the difference. It looks smoother, sleeker, shinier. She combs through it, and the comb glides easily, no tangles, no resistance. This is what vinegar does, she explains. It closes the hair cuticle, makes it smooth, shiny, easy to manage. And it gets rid of all the build-up from shampoo, conditioner, all the products that coat your hair and make it dull. You ask her if the smell bothers her, and she shrugs. Only while I am rinsing it, she says. Once it is out, you cannot smell it at all, and it is worth it. Look at this. She holds up a section of hair and it catches the light, gleaming, almost luminous. You try it the next time you wash your hair, mixing your own vinegar solution, bracing yourself for the smell. You pour it over your head, and the sharpness makes your eyes water. You work it through quickly, desperate to rinse it out, and you spend extra time under the water, making sure every trace of vinegar is gone. When you towel dry your hair and look in the mirror, you are stunned. Your hair looks different, shinier, smoother, healthier. You run your fingers through it, and it feels like silk, soft and slippery and completely detangled. You lean closer to your reflection, turning your head, watching the way the light catches every strand, and you understand why your mother puts up with the smell. The vinegar rinse becomes a regular part of your routine. Once a week, sometimes twice, you mix up your solution, pour it over your hair, endure the smell, and emerge with hair that looks like it belongs in a commercial. Friends ask what products you use, what salon you go to, how you get your hair so shiny. You smile and say nothing, because the truth, that you are rinsing your hair with vinegar, with something you could buy in the cleaning aisle, feels too strange to share. But it works. It has always worked. And in the 1970s, when beauty is something you create rather than something you buy, that is all that matters. Your mother smooths lotion onto her feet, thick and generous, then pulls on a pair of old cotton socks. She does this every night, she tells you, and in the morning her feet are soft, smooth, almost impossibly renewed. You try it yourself, skeptical at first, but the next morning when you peel the socks away, your feet feel different, transformed. This is the kind of beauty secret that does not show up in magazines, the kind that only gets passed down in quiet conversations between women who trust each other. She sits on the edge of her bed, a bottle of lotion in her lap, and begins rubbing it into her feet. Not just a light coating, but a thick, generous layer, working it over her heels, her arches, the balls of her feet between her toes. The lotion is white and heavy, the kind that takes a while to absorb, and she does not wait for it to sink in. She just keeps applying, layer after layer, until her feet are slick and shiny with moisture. Then she reaches for the socks. They're old, worn soft from years of washing, the elastic loose, the cotton pilled. Not the sock she would wear out of the house, but perfect for this. She pulls them on carefully, working them over her lotion-covered feet, and lies back against her pillows. You watch from the doorway, intrigued. Your feet have been rough lately, dry and cracked at the heels, no matter how much lotion you apply during the day. Your mother sees you watching and pats the bed beside her. "Try it," she says. "You will not believe the difference." You sit beside her, reach for the lotion, and begin applying it to your own feet. The lotion is thick, almost greasy, and you use more than you normally would, coating your feet in a heavy layer. Your mother hands you a pair of socks, and you pull them on, feeling the strange sensation of fabric sliding over slick skin. That night, you sleep with the socks on, and it feels odd at first, confining, warm in a way that makes you want to kick the blankets off. But you keep them on, trusting your mother, trusting the process. And in the morning, when you wake and peel the socks away, your feet feel completely different. The skin is soft, impossibly soft, like you have never walked barefoot in your life. Your heels, which were cracked and rough yesterday, are smooth, supple, renewed. You run your hand over your foot, marvelling at the transformation, and you cannot believe that something this simple actually worked. Your mother appears in the doorway, smiling. "I told you," she says. You start doing it every night, smoothing lotion onto your feet, pulling on old socks, sleeping through the night with your feet wrapped and moisturizing. And every morning your feet feel better, softer, more cared for. The cracks heal, the dryness disappears, and you find yourself wanting to wear sandals again, to show off your feet instead of hiding them in closed-toe shoes. This becomes your ritual, your quiet act of self-care, the thing you do at the end of every day. And when friends compliment your feet, when they ask how you keep them so soft, you tell them the secret, passing it down the way your mother passed it to you, the way her mother passed it to her. Because some beauty secrets are too good to keep to yourself, too effective to let fade away. And this is one of them. Your aunt stands at the stove, a metal curling iron resting on the burner heating slowly. She tests it against a scrap of tissue paper, watching for the slight singe that means it is ready, then carefully wraps a section of hair around the barrel. The smell is strange, faintly metallic, faintly burned, but the curl that results is perfect, tight, glossy, lasting. This is how it was done before electric tools, before temperature controls, before safety warnings, just heat, intuition, and a willingness to take the risk. The curling iron is old, solid metal, heavy in her hand. No cord, no plug, just a long rod with a clasp at the end to hold the hair in place. It sits on the burner, heating over the blue flame, and your aunt watches it carefully, waiting for the right moment. Too cool and it does not curl, too hot and it burns. The trick is finding that perfect temperature, the narrow window where the heat is just right. She picks up the iron with a thick pot holder, protecting her hand from the heat radiating up the handle. She holds a small piece of tissue paper near the barrel, close but not touching, and watches. After a few seconds, the paper browns slightly, curling at the edges. "Perfect," she says. She sets the tissue aside and reaches for a section of hair. She wraps it around the barrel carefully, starting at the ends and rolling upward, keeping the hair taut, ensuring it wraps smoothly. The clasp holds it in place, and she counts silently, waiting. 5 seconds. 10. Then she releases the clasp, unwinds the hair, and lets the curl spring free. It is perfect. Tight, glossy, bouncing gently as she shakes her head. She runs her fingers through it lightly, testing the hold, and nods satisfied. She sets the iron back on the burner to reheat and reaches for the next section. You watch, both fascinated and terrified. The iron glows faintly with heat, and you imagine what would happen if she miscalculated, if she held it too long, if the hair sizzled instead of curled. But your aunt moves with confidence, with the ease of someone who has done this 1,000 times and never once burned herself. She tells you she learned this from her grandmother, who learned it from her grandmother. Back then, she says, this was the only way. No electric irons, no temperature settings, no automatic shut-offs. Just fire and metal and trust. And it worked. Women had beautiful curls, lasting curls, curls that held for days. She finishes her hair, curl by curl, section by section, placing the iron back on the flame between each one, heating it, testing it, curling. By the time she is done, her head is full of tight, perfect spirals, glossy and uniform, each one exactly like the last. You ask if you can try, and she hesitates, then nods. Be careful, she says. Respect the heat. She shows you how to test with tissue paper, how to wrap the hair smoothly, how to count to 10 and no more. You pick up the iron, feeling its weight, its warmth radiating through the pot holder, and you wrap a section of hair around it, holding your breath. You count to 10, release the clasp, and unwind the hair. The curl springs free, tight and shiny, and you exhale, relieved and exhilarated. You did it. You curled your hair with fire and metal and nothing burned. Your aunt smiles. See? Not so scary once you know what you're doing. Your mother stands at the stove stirring a pot of sugar, water and lemon juice until it turns golden and thick. She lets it cool just enough, then spreads it across her leg in a smooth, practiced motion. A strip of cloth goes on top. She presses it down firmly, and then, with one quick pull, the hair is gone. It stings, she admits, but it works. And in a time when salon visits are expensive and rare, this is how women take care of themselves, quietly, at home, with nothing but sugar and determination. The pot sits on the stove, bubbling gently, the mixture thickening as it heats. Your mother stirs constantly, watching the colour change from clear to pale yellow to deep amber. The smell is sweet, like caramel, filling the kitchen with warmth. She adds a squeeze of lemon juice, stirring it in, and the mixture bubbles up briefly before settling. She tests it with a spoon, lifting it, and watching how it drips. When it forms a thick, slow strand, she nods and removes the pot from the heat. She lets it cool on the counter, testing the temperature with her fingertip every few minutes, waiting until it is cool enough to touch, but still warm enough to spread. When it is ready, she carries the pot to the bathroom, along with strips of old cotton fabric cut from worn-out sheets. She sits on the edge of the tub, dips a wooden spatula into the sugar mixture, and spreads it across her shin in a thin, even layer. The mixture is sticky, pliable, coating her leg and the hair growing there. She presses a strip of fabric over the sugar, smoothing it down firmly, making sure it adheres. Then she grabs the edge of the fabric, braces herself and pulls. Fast, hard, all at once. The fabric rips away, taking the sugar and the hair with it, leaving behind smooth, bare skin. She winces, exhales sharply, and examines her leg. Clean. Every hair gone. She dips the spatula again, spreads more sugar, applies another strip and repeats. The process is methodical, efficient, painful, but effective. You watch from the doorway, both impressed and horrified. Does it hurt, you ask? Yes, she says simply. But it is worth it, and it lasts longer than shaving. Weeks, sometimes, and the hair grows back softer. She finishes her leg, wipes away the remaining sugar with a damp cloth, and rinses the pot in the sink. The sugar mixture can be saved, reheated, used again. Nothing is wasted. She dries the pot and stores it in the cupboard, ready for next time. Months later, when you're old enough, brave enough, she teaches you. You stand at the stove stirring sugar and water and lemon juice, watching it turn golden. You test it, let it cool, carry it to the bathroom. You spread it on your leg, press the fabric down, and hesitate. Your mother stands beside you, encouraging. Fast, she says, like ripping off a bandage. Do not think about it, just pull. You grab the edge of the fabric, count to 3 and pull. The sting is immediate, sharp, shocking, and you gasp. But when you look down, your leg is smooth. Perfectly smooth, every hair gone. You did it. Your mother smiles. The first time is always the hardest, she says. It gets easier, and it does. You start making your own sugar wax, heating it on the stove, spreading it, pulling it away. The sting becomes familiar, expected, tolerable, and the results are undeniable. Your legs stay smooth for weeks, your skin soft, your hair growing back finer each time. No razors, no expensive salon treatments, just sugar, lemon juice, and the courage to inflict a little pain in the name of beauty. Your sister sits at her vanity, a small bottle of castor oil in her hand. She dips a clean mascara wand into the oil, then brushes it carefully through her eyebrows, coating each hair. This makes them grow, she says, with a kind of confidence that makes you believe her. And whether it is the oil or just time, months later, her brows are fuller, darker, more defined. The ritual itself becomes the magic, and you find yourself reaching for the bottle too, hoping for the same quiet transformation. The bottle is small, amber-coloured, with a dropper lid that she has replaced with the wand from an old mascara tube. The oil inside is thick, golden, viscous, moving slowly when she tilts the bottle. She unscrews the cap, dips the wand in deep, and pulls it out coated in oil, heavy droplets clinging to the bristles. She leans close to the mirror, tilting her face to catch the light, and begins brushing the oil through her left eyebrow. She starts at the inner corner, working outward, coating each hair from root to tip. The oil makes her brows look darker, shinier, almost wet. She repeats the process on the right brow, working carefully, making sure every hair is coated, every sparse patch saturated. The smell is faint but distinct, earthy and slightly medicinal, like something that belongs in an apothecary rather than on a vanity. Your sister does not seem to mind. She sets the bottle down, caps it carefully, and examines her handiwork in the mirror. Her brows glisten under the light, dark and glossy, looking fuller already even though nothing has grown yet. She tells you she read about this in a magazine, an article about old beauty secrets that actually work. Castor oil, it said, promotes hair growth, thickens brows, strengthens lashes. The article quoted grandmothers, actresses from the 40s, women who swore by it before eyebrow pencils became the standard solution. Your sister decided to try it, skeptical but hopeful, and now, 3 months later, she is convinced it works. You look at her brows, comparing them to how they looked before, trying to remember if they were always this full. She notices you looking and smiles. They were thinner, she says. Trust me. I plucked them too much in high school, and they stopped growing back. But now look. She brushes a finger over her brow, and you can see it. The thickness, the density, the way the hairs seem more abundant than you remember. She hands you the bottle. Try it, she says. What do you have to lose? You take it home, and that night, standing at your own mirror, you dip the wand into the oil and brush it through your eyebrows. The oil is heavy, coating each hair, making them look darker and wetter than they have ever looked before. You feel slightly ridiculous, standing there with glistening brows, but you also feel hopeful. If it worked for her, maybe it will work for you. You make it part of your nightly routine. After washing your face, after brushing your teeth, you reach for the castor oil. You coat your brows, wait a moment for the oil to absorb, and then climb into bed. The oil leaves faint marks on your pillowcase, small dark smudges that accumulate over time, but you do not care. This is the cost of transformation. Weeks pass, then months. You do not measure, do not take photos, do not track your progress scientifically. You just keep applying the oil night after night, trusting the process, trusting your sister, trusting the women who came before you and swore this worked. And then one day someone compliments your eyebrows. They are so full, they say, so perfectly shaped. Did you get them done? You look in the mirror that night, really look, and you realize they are right. Your brows are thicker, fuller, darker, more defined. You cannot say for certain it was the castor oil. You cannot prove causation. But something changed. Something grew. And whether it was the oil itself or simply the nightly ritual of care, of attention, of believing your brows could be better, it worked. You keep the bottle on your vanity next to your moisturizer and your perfume. And every night you dip the wand, brush the oil through your brows and trust that you're doing something good, something real, something that connects you to your sister, to your grandmother, to every woman who ever stood at a mirror and hoped that something as simple as oil could make her more beautiful. Your mother finishes polishing her nails, then holds them under cold running water, letting the chill set the colour, harden the finish. She swears this makes them last longer, makes them shine brighter, and you watch as the polish dries almost instantly, glossy and perfect. It is a trick she learned from her mother, passed down without explanation, just trust, and it works every single time. She sits at the kitchen table, a bottle of polish open beside her, working carefully, painting each nail with slow, deliberate strokes. The polish is red, deep and glossy, the kind of red that makes a statement. She applies it in thin layers, letting each coat dry slightly before adding the next, building up the colour until it is rich and opaque. When she finishes the second coat, she stands and walks to the sink. She turns on the cold water, letting it run until it is as cold as it will get, and then she holds her hands under the stream. The water hits her nails and she keeps them there, fingers spread, letting the cold work its magic. 30 seconds on one hand, then 30 seconds on the other. When she pulls her hand away and examines them, the polish is dry. Not just dry to the touch, but fully set, hard, glossy, like it has been sitting for an hour instead of 30 seconds. She holds her hands up to the light, turning them this way and that, and the polish gleams, reflecting the overhead bulb in perfect glossy curves. You ask her how it works, and she shrugs. "I do not know," she says. Something about the cold setting the polish faster. "My mother taught me, and her mother taught her. It just works." She tells you that without the cold water, polish can take 20 minutes to dry fully, sometimes longer. And in that 20 minutes, you smudge it reaching for something, you dent it leaning on a counter, you ruin it trying to do literally anything with your hands. But with the cold water, you're done in a minute, completely dry, ready to go. You try it the next time you paint your nails, sitting at your dresser, applying 2 coats of pale pink polish, waiting impatiently for them to dry. Then you remember. You walk to the bathroom, turn on the cold water, and hold your hands under the stream. The cold is shocking, almost painful, but you keep them there, counting to 30, watching the water sluice over your nails. When you pull your hands away, you test a nail gently with your fingertip. Dry, completely dry. No smudge, no dent, no tackiness. You press harder, and the polish does not budge. It is set, solid, perfect. You become a convert. Every time you paint your nails, you finish with the cold water rinse, standing at the sink, hands under the stream, waiting for the magic to happen. And it always does. Your polish dries faster, lasts longer, looks better. Friends ask how you get your manicures to look so professional, how your nails always seem so glossy, so perfect. You tell them the secret, the cold water trick, and they look at you skeptically until they try it themselves. Your mother was right. It works. It has always worked. And in a decade when nail polish is still a luxury, when manicures are something you do yourself at home rather than pay someone else to do, tricks like this matter. They save time. They save money. They make you feel polished and put together even when everything else is chaos. The cold water rinse becomes automatic, instinctive, as much a part of painting your nails as applying the polish itself. You do not question it. You do not wonder about the science behind it. You just do it, the way your mother does it, the way her mother did it, trusting that some things do not need explanation. They just need to work. The bathroom smells strange, rich and slightly sour, and your mother stands at the sink, mayonnaise slathered through her hair. She wraps it in a towel, waits 20 minutes, then rinses it away, and when she steps out, her hair is soft, shiny, impossibly smooth. This is what we used, she says. This is what worked. And you believe her, because the proof is right there, gleaming in the bathroom light. She stands in front of the mirror, a jar of mayonnaise open on the counter. Not the fancy kind, not the artisanal organic mayonnaise that will appear in stores decades later, just regular mayonnaise, the kind that comes in a big jar and costs less than $1. She scoops out a generous amount with her fingers, and it sits in her palm, white and creamy and unmistakably mayonnaise. She begins working it through her hair, starting at the ends and moving upward, coating every strand. The mayonnaise is thick, sticky, clinging to her hair in clumps. She uses more than you would think necessary, slathering it on until her hair is completely saturated, dripping slightly, heavy with the weight of it. The smell intensifies as she works, filling the small bathroom with the distinct scent of eggs and oil and vinegar. It is not pleasant exactly, but it is not unbearable either. Just strange. Unexpected. The kind of smell that makes you question whether this is really a good idea. She wraps her hair in an old towel, tucking the ends in securely, and sets a timer on the kitchen stove. 20 minutes, she says. That is all it needs. She sits down with a magazine, completely unbothered by the fact that her head is currently coated in sandwich condiment. You watch the timer count down, fascinated and skeptical. Mayonnaise is food. It belongs on sandwiches, in potato salad, mixed with tuna. It does not belong in hair. But your mother sits there calmly, reading, waiting, trusting a process she learned from her own mother years ago. When the timer goes off, she returns to the bathroom and unwraps the towel. Her hair is still coated, still heavy with mayonnaise, but she does not seem concerned. She leans over the sink and begins rinsing, working her fingers through her hair, letting the water carry the mayonnaise away. It takes time, several rinses, and she follows with shampoo to remove any lingering residue, any trace of the smell. When she finally steps back and towel dries her hair, the transformation is immediate. Her hair looks different, softer, shinier, smoother. She runs a comb through it, and it glides effortlessly. No tangles, no resistance, nothing but smooth, silky strands. She looks at you in the mirror. See? Works better than any conditioner I've ever bought. You try it a few weeks later, standing in your own bathroom, jar of mayonnaise in hand, scooping it out and working it through your hair. The texture is strange. The smell is odd, and you feel absurd standing there with your hair coated in something you normally eat. But you wrap it in a towel, set a timer, and wait. 20 minutes later, you rinse it away, shampoo thoroughly, and step out of the shower. Your hair feels incredible, soft, smooth, conditioned in a way it has never felt before. You run your fingers through it, and it feels like silk, like something from a commercial, like hair that belongs to someone who spends a fortune on salon treatments. But all it took was mayonnaise, regular mayonnaise from the refrigerator, the same jar you used on sandwiches last week, and it worked better than any store-bought conditioner, better than any expensive treatment, better than anything you could have imagined. Your mother was right. This is what they used. This is what worked. And in the 1970s, when beauty was still something you improvised, something you created with whatever was in your kitchen, mayonnaise was just another tool, another secret, another way to make yourself beautiful without spending money you did not have. Your grandmother sits in her chair, a small chamois cloth in her lap, buffing her nails in slow, rhythmic strokes. No polish, no colour, just the natural shine that comes from friction, from patience, from care. Her nails gleam, healthy and strong, and she looks at you with a smile. This is all you need, she says, and you believe her. The chamois cloth is soft, slightly worn, the kind of leather that has been used for years and has only gotten better with age. She folds it into a small pad, wraps it around her index finger and begins working on her thumbnail. Back and forth, back and forth. Steady pressure, rhythmic motion, like polishing silver or shining shoes. The friction creates heat, and her nail begins to warm under the cloth. She continues buffing, patient and methodical, and slowly, gradually, the nail begins to change. The dull, matte surface transforms, becoming smoother, glossier, more reflective. After a minute or two, she stops and examines her work. The nail gleams, catching the light, shining as though it has been coated in clear polish. She moves to the next nail and the next, working her way across both hands. Each nail receives the same careful attention, the same rhythmic buffing, the same transformation from dull to glossy. By the time she finishes, all 10 nails shine, healthy and strong and naturally beautiful. You ask her where she learned this, and she tells you it was the way women cared for their nails before polish became common, before colour became the standard. You buffed them, she says. You kept them clean, filed, smooth and shiny. That was beauty. Not paint, not colour, just healthy nails that gleamed. She hands you the chamois cloth. Try it, she says. You take the cloth, wrap it around your finger and begin buffing your own thumbnail. The motion feels strange at first. Awkward. Like you're not sure how much pressure to use or how long to continue. But you keep going, back and forth, steady and rhythmic, and slowly your nail begins to change. The surface smooths, the shine develops, and after a minute or two, you stop and look. Your nail gleams, just like your grandmother's, glossy and healthy and naturally beautiful. She nods approvingly. See? No polish needed. Just a little time and care. You start buffing your nails regularly, sitting in your room with the chamois cloth, working your way across both hands. The process is meditative, calming, a quiet ritual that requires nothing but time and patience. And the results are undeniable. Your nails look healthier, stronger, shinier than they ever did with polish. People compliment them, asking what colour you're wearing, surprised when you tell them it is nothing, just buffing. Your grandmother was right. This is all you need. No bottles, no brushes, no chemicals or colours, just a cloth, some friction, and the understanding that beauty does not always require addition. Sometimes it just requires bringing out what is already there, polishing it, caring for it, making it shine. The chamois cloth becomes a treasure, something you keep in your drawer, something you reach for when you want your nails to look their best. And every time you use it, you think of your grandmother, sitting in her chair, buffing her nails with slow, patient strokes, showing you that beauty is not always about transformation. Sometimes it is about revelation, about uncovering the shine that was always there, waiting to be noticed. You stand in the bathroom, surrounded by the ghosts of rituals past, and you realize something quietly profound. These tricks, these secrets, these small acts of care, they were never just about looking beautiful. They were about slowing down, about trusting your hands, your instincts, your mother's voice, about believing that beauty was not something you bought, but something you practiced, something you earned, something you created in the quiet moments when no one else was watching. And somewhere along the way, we forgot that. We traded patience for convenience, ritual for routine, and the quiet magic of these old beauty tricks vanished completely. The jar of cold cream sits on the counter next to the baby powder, the Vaseline, the small tin of cornstarch. These humble containers, none of them fancy, none of them expensive, represent something larger than themselves. They represent a way of being, a way of caring for yourself that required time, attention, intention. They represent beauty as something active, something participatory, something you did rather than something that happened to you. You think about your mother standing at the sink, massaging cold cream into her face with slow, deliberate circles. You think about your sister sitting on the edge of the tub, sleeping in socks filled with lotion, trusting that overnight something would change. You think about your grandmother buffing her nails with a chamois cloth, patient stroke after patient stroke, until they gleamed. These women were not passive consumers of beauty. They were creators of it. They understood that transformation took time, that results required consistency, that looking good was not about finding the right product, but about committing to the right process. They mixed sugar scrubs in their kitchens, set their hair with juice cans, rinsed their locks with vinegar. They improvised, they experimented, they trusted themselves, and they taught you. Not through formal lessons or written instructions, but through demonstration, through invitation, through the quiet passing down of knowledge that happens when one woman shows another how to care for herself. They taught you that beauty was not about perfection, it was about care. It was about taking the time, even when time was scarce, to do something kind for yourself. You realized that these rituals were grounding. In a decade of change, of upheaval, of women pushing into new spaces and new roles, these small acts of beauty were anchors. They were moments of control, moments of calm, moments when you could focus on something simple and see immediate results. You could not always control your circumstances, but you could control whether your hair was set in pin curls, whether your feet were soft, whether your nails gleamed. The beauty routines of the 1970s required something modern. Beauty culture often dismisses patience. You could not microwave cold cream into working faster. You could not rush the drying time on pin curls. You could not skip steps and expect the same results. You had to commit. You had to wait. You had to trust that slow, deliberate care would yield something worth having. And it did. These tricks worked. Not because they were scientifically formulated in laboratories, not because they were marketed by companies with million-dollar advertising budgets, but because they were true, because they'd been tested by generations of women, refined through trial and error, passed down because they delivered on their promises. But somewhere along the way, we stopped trusting ourselves. We started trusting packaging instead of practice, labels instead of legacy. We wanted faster, easier, more convenient. We wanted beauty that required nothing from us except money and a willingness to believe whatever the advertisement claimed. And in that trade, we lost something. We lost the ritual. We lost the patience. We lost the quiet satisfaction that comes from creating your own beauty with your own hands. We lost the connection to the women who came before us, the invisible thread that linked daughter to mother to grandmother, passing down not just techniques but values, care, intentionality, self-sufficiency. You look at yourself in the mirror, face bare, no makeup, no filters, just you. And you think about what these women knew, what they understood instinctively, what we are only now beginning to remember. That beauty is not something external, something applied, something purchased. Beauty is something cultivated. It is something you grow through care, through consistency, through the small daily acts of tending to yourself with patience and love. The tricks themselves may have vanished, replaced by products more convenient and promises more enticing. But the truth behind them remains. Beauty takes time. Beauty takes care. Beauty takes patience. And the women who knew these tricks, the women who woke early to set their hair, who mixed sugar scrubs in their kitchens, who slept in socks filled with lotion, they understood something we are still learning. That the most transformative beauty secret is not a product. It is a practice. It is showing up for yourself day after day with simple tools and patient hands, trusting that small acts of care repeated over time create something more lasting than anything you could ever buy. Your aunt sits at her vanity, studying her reflection with the kind of focus usually reserved for important decisions. She picked up an eyebrow pencil, dark brown and well used, and touches it lightly to her upper lip just to the right of centre. A small dot appears, perfectly placed, and she blends it gently with her fingertip until it looks like it has always been there. A beauty mark, she tells you, catching your curious expression in the mirror. Every woman should have one. It makes you memorable. The pencil is old, worn down to a stub, the kind of tool that has been sharpened so many times the wooden casing is almost gone. She twists it slightly, checking the point, making sure it is sharp enough to create a small, precise mark rather than a smudge. This is important, she explains. If it is too big, it looks drawn on. If it's too small, no one notices. You want it just right, just noticeable enough to catch the eye. She tells you about the actresses she admired growing up, the ones with beauty marks that became part of their signature look. Marilyn Monroe, Elizabeth Taylor, women who turned a small dark spot into a statement of glamour. Some of them were real, she says, but some were penciled in, just like this. It was a trick, a way to add intrigue, to give your face a focal point, something for people to remember you by. You watch as she examines the mark, tilting her head to see it from different angles. She seems satisfied. It sits just above her lip, small and dark, looking natural despite being completely artificial. She applies her lipstick next, a soft pink that makes the beauty mark stand out even more, and when she smiles at you, the mark moves with her face, animating, becoming part of her expression. She offers you the pencil. Want to try? You hesitate, then take it. You study your own face in the mirror, searching for the right placement. Not too high, not too low. Somewhere that feels natural, somewhere that enhances rather than distracts. You decide on a spot near your cheekbone just below the outer corner of your eye. You press the pencil gently against your skin, creating a small dot, and pull away to examine it. It looks strange at first. Too dark, too obvious, too much like you drew on your face with a pencil, which is exactly what you did. But your aunt leans over, studies it, and nods. Now blend it, she says. Just a tiny bit with your fingertip. Soften the edges. You press your finger against the mark, moving it in tiny circles, and watch as it transforms. The hard edges soften, the colour mellows slightly, and suddenly it looks less like a pencil mark and more like a natural feature. You step back, looking at yourself from a distance, and you see what she means. The mark draws attention, creates interest, makes your face more memorable. You start doing this before special occasions, before dates, before any moment when you want to feel a little more glamorous, a little more mysterious. You experiment with placement, trying different spots, different sizes, seeing what works best for your face. Sometimes you put it near your lip, channeling old Hollywood. Sometimes near your eye, dramatic and striking. Sometimes on your cheek, soft and subtle. Friends ask if it is real, and you smile enigmatically, neither confirming nor denying. The ambiguity is part of the appeal. The mark becomes part of your look, part of how people recognize you, part of what makes you you. And all it takes is an eyebrow pencil, a steady hand, and the confidence to add a little artifice to your face. Your aunt was right. A beauty mark makes you memorable. It gives your face character, intrigue, something that sets you apart from everyone else. And in the 1970s, when individuality matters more than uniformity, when women are finding their own identities and their own styles, a small pencil dot becomes more than just a beauty trick. It becomes a statement. The brown bottle sits in the medicine cabinet, squeezed between the aspirin and the band-aids, a fixture so permanent you barely notice it anymore. Your mother reaches for it constantly, for everything, for reasons that seem to multiply the longer you watch. Witch hazel, she explains, is not just one thing, it is everything. She dabs it on cotton balls for blemishes, splashes it on her face as toner, presses it against bug bites and minor scrapes. It smells medicinal, sharp and astringent, like something that should only exist in hospitals. But here it is, in your bathroom, solving problems you did not know could be solved with a single bottle. The label is simple, clinical, listing the ingredients in plain text with no promises of miracles or transformation. Just witch hazel extract, water and alcohol. Nothing fancy, nothing exotic, nothing that costs more than a couple of dollars. But your mother swears by it with the kind of conviction usually reserved for religious beliefs. She pours some onto a cotton ball and presses it against a mosquito bite on your arm. The coolness is immediate, soothing, and the itch begins to subside almost instantly. Witch hazel reduces inflammation, she says, like she's reading from a medical textbook she's memorized. It tightens pores, stops bleeding, kills bacteria. It does everything. You start noticing how often she uses it. After washing her face at night, she soaks a cotton pad with witch hazel and swipes it across her skin, removing any lingering traces of makeup or dirt. In the morning, she uses it again, refreshing her face, tightening her pores, preparing her skin for the day. When you get a scrape from falling off your bike, she cleans it with witch hazel instead of hydrogen peroxide. When you complain about a pimple, she hands you a cotton ball soaked in witch hazel and tells you to dab it on before bed. The bottle empties and gets replaced, empties and gets replaced. A constant cycle that speaks to how often it is used, how many purposes it serves. Your mother buys it by the case, keeping extras in the cupboard, making sure she never runs out. To be without witch hazel, she says, would be like being without water. Unthinkable. You start using it yourself, tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. A blemish appears, and you dab it with witch hazel before bed. By morning it is smaller, less red, less angry. Your skin feels oily midday, and you swipe witch hazel across your T-zone, mattifying instantly. You get a cut while cooking, and you reach for the witch hazel, applying it to the wound, watching as it stings briefly before the bleeding slows. It becomes part of your routine, part of your understanding of how to care for yourself. Witch hazel is not glamorous. It does not promise anything except what it delivers. It does not come in beautiful packaging or smell like flowers or make you feel pampered. It is utilitarian, practical, effective. And in the 1970s, when practicality is valued as much as beauty, that is exactly what matters. Your friends start asking what you use on your skin, why your pores look so small, how you keep breakouts under control. You tell them witch hazel, and they look skeptical until they try it themselves. Then they understand. Then they go buy their own bottles, brown and medicinal and unassuming, and keep them in their own medicine cabinets, reaching for them morning and night. Decades later, witch hazel will be rediscovered, repackaged, marketed as a natural alternative to chemical toners, sold in sleek bottles with pretty labels and doubled prices. But you'll remember the original, the simple brown bottle, the sharp smell, the way your mother reached for it for everything, the way it solved problems without fanfare or fuss. And you will smile, knowing that some things do not need to be rediscovered. They just need to be remembered. Your mother hands you a pillowcase, smooth and slippery, cool to the touch. Satin, she says, as though the word itself explains everything. You look at it skeptically, this strange shiny fabric that feels nothing like the soft cotton you're used to. Sleep on this, she tells you, and your hair will thank you. No tangles, no frizz, no waking up looking like you fought your pillow all night and lost. You slip it over your pillow that evening, dubious but willing, and in the morning, when you wake with hair that actually cooperates, you understand. This is not about luxury. This is about physics. The pillowcase is pale pink, slightly worn from years of use, but still smooth, still slippery, still doing its job. Your mother explains the science in simple terms. Cotton grabs your hair, creates friction, causes breakage and tangles and frizz. But satin lets your hair glide. It does not catch, does not pull, does not rough up the cuticle. Your hair slides across it as you sleep, staying smooth, staying intact, staying manageable. You think about all the mornings you have woken with hair matted on one side, sticking up at strange angles, kinked and creased from being pressed against cotton all night. You think about the battles with your brush, the tangles that hurt to comb through, the frizz that seems to appear out of nowhere, and you realize this pillowcase might actually be the solution. That first morning you wake and reach up to touch your hair, expecting the usual chaos, but it feels different, smoother, less tangled. You get up and look in the mirror, and your hair looks almost styled, falling naturally, cooperating in a way it usually does not. You run a brush through it, and it glides easily, no snags, no resistance, no painful pulling. Your mother appears in the doorway, smiling knowingly. Told you, she says. You start sleeping on satin every night, and the difference becomes undeniable. Your hair is healthier, shinier, less prone to breakage. The ends, which used to split and fray, stay intact longer. The frizz, which used to plague you every morning, diminishes significantly. You wake looking more put together, less like you need an hour to make yourself presentable. You tell your friends about it, and they look at you like you're suggesting something absurd. A pillowcase? That is your secret. But the ones who try it become converts. They report back with amazement, with gratitude, with their own stories of waking up with hair that actually looks good. Your mother tells you this is an old trick, something actresses use to protect their hairstyles, something women with curly or textured hair learned early, because the difference was even more dramatic for them. Satin preserves, she says. It protects. It lets your hair be itself instead of destroying it while you sleep. You start buying satin pillowcases for yourself, keeping extras, replacing them when they wear out. They become non-negotiable, essential, the kind of thing you pack when you travel because you cannot imagine sleeping on cotton anymore. Your hair has become too accustomed to gliding, too used to waking up smooth and manageable. And every morning when you wake and your hair looks good without effort, you think about your mother handing you that first pillowcase, insisting you try it, promising it would work. You think about how something as simple as changing the fabric you sleep on could make such a profound difference. And you are grateful for the women who figured this out, who passed it down, who understood that beauty is not always about what you apply to your body, but sometimes about what you remove from it, what you protect it from, what you let it rest against while you sleep. So tonight, as you settle deeper into your blankets, as the day finally releases its grip and sleep begins to pull you gently forward, take a moment to think about the women who practiced these rituals. The ones who stood at bathroom sinks with jars of cold cream, who wrapped their hair in juice cans and trusted the process, who believed that beauty was not something you chased but something you created with your own patient hands. They were not trying to be perfect. They were just trying to care for themselves in a world that did not always make that easy. They mixed sugar scrubs in their kitchens between making dinner and folding laundry. They buffed their nails while listening to the radio. They taught their daughters and their nieces and their neighbours, passing down knowledge that could not be bought, only shared. These tricks have mostly vanished now, replaced by convenience, by products that promise faster results and easier routines. And maybe that is progress. Maybe that is fine. But something was lost too. The slowness, the intentionality, the quiet satisfaction of making yourself beautiful with nothing but time and care and a willingness to trust what your mother taught you. So if you take anything from tonight, let it be this. That beauty does not have to be complicated. That care does not have to be expensive. That sometimes the best way to tend to yourself is to slow down, to use your hands, to trust the simple things that have always worked. And maybe, just maybe, the next time you stand at your bathroom sink, you will remember the women who stood there before you, and you will take a little more time. You will be a little more intentional. You will honor the rituals that connected mothers to daughters, that turned ordinary moments into something sacred. Good night. Sleep well. And may your dreams be as soft as cold cream, as patient as pin curls, and as enduring as the love that gets passed down, generation to generation, in bathrooms lit by gentle light and filled with quiet care.